Welcome back to the Empowered Healer with Songbird Grandmother. And today is episode 3. And we're just about to hit a very powerful new moon in May 12th. And this is the time of a new beginning. We're after spring equinox, and we're just about to hit summer, finishing planting seeds here in the late spring, preparing the garden, preparing the soil, crafting, preparing your medicine. This is a really good time for preparation, for ritual, for ceremony, for going deep into the dark earth and birthing. It's that time before birth where you're preparing, you're getting your stuff ready, you're nesting. But right now, that's where we are as a collective. And what we need to be focusing on is staying in the middle, in the eye of the storm, to stay in the middle of what's going on outside of us. Because in the middle is where the peace is. In the outer part of it is where all the chaos, the fear, the intense radiation of energy is. And that's what causes the disasters in a storm. It's in the center of the storm where the medicine is the deepest, but it's standing in that space. It's clear, it's focused, it's contained, but at the same time, it's causing the storm. That's the conundrum, is that the center is the most peaceful, but it's also the causation of the entire storm. Because when people step into their power and they start awakening and they start looking at the world differently, that's a collapse. That's a collapse of your mind. That's a collapse of your emotions. That's a collapse of your psyche. It's a collapse of programming, beliefs. All these different aspects of yourself are collapsing. And in the collapsation, it's not just an inner process, it's an outer process. And so, of course, the world is looking the way it is. There's cycles upon cycles ending. There's a huge shift that we are in the middle of, and we're shifting it. And it's going to take a lot of innovation. It's going to take a lot of empowerment, courage, faith, trust. It's going to require overcoming incredible obstacles and trusting. Because the problem in America is that we've never experienced this. Not recently, not mainstream. No, the indigenous population, we know this is actually not a surprise. But I would think for most of us who lived in the modern world, who've partaked in the city life, who know what it's like to have convenience, this is not something that most people are going to be prepared for, because this is going to be something that not that long ago people lived through. But in this time, it's it's a stripping, it's a releasing, it's a letting go, it's a healing moment. And for the empowered healers, you're here to bring the medicine. You're here to not only restore the old ways, but you're here to bring the medicine to the people. And it's more important for you to stay in the center of the eye. And this is where knowing yourself becomes very important, because if you don't know yourself, you don't know who you are, what you do, what you offer, and how to transfer that into the world. And that's why you have to first really develop self to be in the center of the storm. And then that requires also stepping into leadership, into seeing yourself and the vision of your life. You see, in order to be a medicine woman or man, you had to have had a vision. And that's the same for the modern day, is in order to be a real healer, to put your service in the world, you are given a vision, not a delusion. There's two different things there. It's a vision, a real vision from the spirit world. You have to have that. It could have been a dream. It could have been on a vision quest ceremony. It could have been somewhere as you were really coming into your gifts. And it is what you're supposed to do. That's, if you can achieve that vision, you have achieved the position of the medicine person, the medicine man, the medicine woman. You have achieved that. But until you actually achieve your vision, you're just, like an apprentice. You're still working towards that vision, because every single healer is given a vision. That's part of this path. You have to have a vision, not a delusion, though. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to do a healing center, I'm going to do this, and I already know they're not going to, because it's not from the heart, it's from the head. And you can tell the difference. You can tell when somebody has a vision from their heart, and then when somebody has a vision of the mind. They're two different energies, they're two different vibrations, they're two different frequencies, and they don't go together. But when somebody has a vision from the heart, it radiates. And when you have a vision from the heart, you take the time to develop yourself so that you can implement and understand and sit with that vision. Because the vision is for your life, and maybe not just this lifetime, but lifetimes. That's what healers are here to do, is to lay a foundation, a seed right here, right now, in this new moon. Lay a foundation for your life. Leave a foundation for your children, their children, their children's children, and so on and so forth. These are the times we're living in. This is the moment. Right now, we are in a generational change. And whatever happens right now lays a foundation for years to come. Think about one of the last times this energy we experienced was in 1492. 1492. That was the beginning of the colonization of America and the decimation and the genocide of millions and millions of people. that's what we're hitting into, is that intense energy. And of course, every time it manifests itself differently, but they're very similar. This is not an easy time. And if you're in delusional land, you will delulu yourself. But if you're not, you will start implementing spiritual power into your life. So when I was beginning to do this work professionally, I was just starting to really get known for my readings, and I had all these people coming, and I was taken to this woman by chance, really by chance. I had no plan. I didn't even know where we were going, but I went with this family, this African family, to see an African praying woman. And nobody told me she was an African praying woman, but someone had mentioned that she was a psychic and that they would go to her for problems when they needed help. And she happened to be here from Africa. So it was all divine the way it worked. And from the minute I walked into her house, I knew she knew that I did what she did. She just looked at me and I just knew. And she sat with everybody in the family, and then she called me to the table and she told me, that I do what she does. And I was like, I know. And she said, "You don't know who I am." And I told her, no, I had no idea. Nobody told me we were coming here or what we were doing. And she said, "Oh, well, let me tell you, in my country, we had a civil war for 10 years. Every day, people were dying all around us. It was a civil war." And she said that people came to her house and they were saved. She would get them out of harm, and she would tell them where to go and what to do, and they could leave. Like, some of them left the country because of what she advised them to do and the connection she had. And nobody touched her house in the 10 years she was serving and helping people escape war. Nobody touched her house. There were people going door to door, dragging people. I mean, it was a civil war. It was a terrible experience for 10 years. And she said, nobody touched my house. She saved 17,000 people, that they're still living, and they're so grateful for her. And she said they were all over the world. And that's why she flew all over the world to see people, because she had saved all those people, and they considered her the spiritual advisor of their house. So before they made any decisions, before they did anything big, if they wanted blessings, prayers, protection, whatever it was, they would call her, and then they would fly her to wherever they were. And it was all because of spiritual power. So she told me this powerful story. And at that time, I wasn't mature enough to understand it. And she said, all you have to do is trust God, no matter what. Just try. And that's the message she just kept saying. And I remember after that reading, I was like, okay, you know, something powerful happened. I just didn't know what. And it took me a while to process that. But one day, I remember it just popped in my head about what she was actually telling me about how she saved those 17,000 people in the middle of war. And what it was is that she had built a force field around her home and around these people that nobody messed with them. There was an energy, even the soldiers who would terrorize people, and do these terrible things, they wouldn't touch that woman in her house. There was a feeling that was spiritual protection. And I know that feeling because I've had it around my own properties and my own centers. And people have told me, because I used to be in a wellness center. I had a wellness center right next to a bar, and there were all kinds of strange people coming in and out of that place. It was like such a crazy mix of energy. But all those bar people would come and look at my store and they'd be like, wow, it's real pretty because it was real feminine. And some of them I would hire to paint or do whatever. And so I got to know these guys and they all told me something. They said, nobody would mess with your store. They're all convicts too. They're all criminals. And I said, oh, really? He said, they all said, no, nobody would have that kind of karma because if they mess with your store, there would be some serious karma involved. And so they all became kind of like protectors. We had a great relationship and I never felt like they would do any harm to the store. And that was, you know, if you think about this woman and her house and what she did for people, that's what we need. That's what you have to create around yourself and your home, your family, your pets, your babies, your loved one, your community. You have to think like that now. You have to think, okay, I need to build a force field that only the right people can come in and out of in my spaces, in my life, in this intense energy we're heading into. You have to build that center, the center of the eye of the storm, and focus on the ripples of change and love. Because just imagine, people knew to go to that lady's house because they wouldn't be messed with. Nobody would mess with that lady in her home because they knew on a spiritual level that if they did any harm to her, the repercussions would be so intense and dramatic. And they feared it. They feared it. That's the sacred. That fear fears. Did you know that fear feared something? Fear fears the light, the sacred, the protected, the blessed, the holy, the enlightened. Because one of the things she told me was she saved people through the power of prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting. And I'll just let you think about that. Fear fears the light, the holy light, the sacred, the real. It fears bad karma. It fears that. People fear that, whether they admit it or not. But that woman was a powerful woman. And I think of what she told me and how she shared her story because I always wondered like when that would happen, when what she went through would happen. Because I feel like what she was telling me was a prediction. It wasn't just her telling me her story. It always felt deeper. And I've always wondered, what it would be looking like. And I've been told and shown, but it's different when you live it. You can be shown something. I was shown 2020 in 2015, I had intense dreams and insights and did ceremonies to prepare people. We did new moon, full moon, fire ceremonies from 2015 to 2020 before the COVID shutdown. And everything that was revealed in those ceremonies came true and is still coming true. And they called this time the Roaring 20s. The Roaring 20s. And one of the advantages of facilitating ceremony is that I sat through all the ceremonies. So I felt prepared because everything that was revealed was happening and it's still happening. We're only 5 years in of the Roaring 20s. So we still have a lot of roaring to do. But if you're listening to this message, it even becomes more powerful for you because I'm sharing that story of the African praying woman because your place, your shield, your medicine is like that. It shields, it's an umbrella for your community, for your family, your community, your people that come to you. And you have to activate that force in your life. And like she said, it's prayer and fasting. And fasting isn't just food, it's everything. It's like going to silence. And that's why last episode I talked about going into rest because you need to rest to empower. Rest is a sacred part of your walk because during rest, you receive dreams, you receive messages, you receive healing, you receive deeper layers of consciousness. And you need that in order to be in the center of the I, in order to plant that seed, nurture it, grow it, and bloom, blossom, and fruit. And in order to properly stay empowered, you have to think long term, not short term. Because right now, if you're an empowered healer, it's most important for you to stay in the center of clarity, in the center of focus, in the center of your vision. Every time you step outside of that center is chaos, fear, destruction, and distraction. Every time you step deeper into the center of the I, you will see the clarity. Everything in this world is going to try to distract you. But the thing you have to remember is to stay in your consciousness. This is not the time to focus on the outer. You do what you have to do and you come back to your consciousness because your consciousness is where you can elevate. Materially, it's harder to elevate right now because unless you have a very strategic, very focused, very disciplined vision, you're going to lose your way. You're going to get lost in the noise. You're going to take on the disaster. If disaster comes your way, you have spiritual force, you have spiritual protection, you have spiritual power. That's all you want to focus on. If you're not focused on that, you're missing this year. This year is a very powerful year of preparation, and we don't want to take advantage of that. We don't want to miss that opportunity. We don't want to waste it. So stay in the eye of the storm. And this new moon is the time to plant that seed. So if you're ready and you want to go deeper into your path, you want to start unshedding and getting clearer focus direction, then I definitely invite you to book your session with me. I also have some new ceremonies up, and I'll continue to come back on video and podcast. So be sure to follow me on all my social media. But have a great new moon. Until we meet again, aho.